Followed home from a grocery store. This happened about 3 days ago. I'm a 23-year-old female, and I was out grocery shopping with my mom at a local grocery store on Saturday. We had been there for only a few minutes when I first noticed him. An old man with a shock of white hair standing in the bread aisle with his dog. It was a small dog, and I'm assuming it was a service dog considering he had it with him in the store. Passing by him, I nodded and smiled at him and his dog to be polite because he was already staring at me. Passing by without any recognition of that would have felt slightly rude. I felt a little creeped out by him, but I couldn't tell you why. He didn't really look scary or do anything out of the ordinary other than stare at me, but there was just something about him that gave me a terrible vibe. We carried on with our shopping, and I didn't see the man again until we went to check out our items. He was already paying, just as we made our way to the cashier, and right before we walked out, he turned around and stared for a couple of seconds at my mom. Then, his eyes fell on me, and he smirked. I don't know why, but I instantly felt afraid. My stomach felt like it was doing flips, and then my heart rate drastically increased. I just casually looked around the store and acted as if I didn't notice, but the feeling he gave me was more than unsettling. It took us quite a while at the checkout as we were there doing a full shopping trip. So, needless to say, when we walked outside and over to our car, I was very surprised to see the same old man with his dog slowly approaching our vehicle. My mom didn't seem to notice right away, but as he got closer, he began speaking to her. He asked her if she would be interested in selling her car. She drives a classic Mustang convertible that has been completely restored and fixed up. He claimed that he owned another car just like it, but had wrecked it and was looking for another that was similar. As my luck would have it, my mom was actually looking to sell her car because she was tired of the upkeep and wanted something new. So, when he offered to pay her $1,000 more than she had invested in it, she was interested. She offered for them to exchange numbers so they could discuss the transaction at a later time. You'd think that would have been the end of it, seeing that an arrangement had been made, but he just lingered as we loaded the groceries in our car. I wasn't really paying attention to the conversation because he presented such a creepy ambience. I was just trying to get the car loaded as quickly as possible so we could get the hell out of there. But when he asked her, "So, is that your daughter?" I immediately became alert. Of course she replied yes, and he proceeded to tell her how beautiful he thought I was, as if I weren't even there. He then asked her what kind of work I did for a living, which I thought was kind of odd, but my mother was oblivious. So she proceeded to tell him that I was a student and wasn't currently working, but was looking for a part-time job. A smile instantly grew on his face, and he said, "Well, I just happen to have a job she may be interested in." He went on to talk about how he owned several rental properties and needed someone that could come once a week to his place and go to the properties that needed cleaning. He said he'd pay $250 for each location and he'd pay in cash every Friday. And it sounded great, too good to be actually true, but I still couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously off about this guy. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, I agreed to consider it and told him that I'd let him know by that following Monday. We all said our goodbyes and we got into our car to head home. I didn't even notice that he had been behind us the entire time. When we pulled into our neighborhood, that's when I saw him continue to go straight as we turned left. There were only 2 ways in and out of our small neighborhood. We were home for around 20 minutes when my mom's boyfriend came in from outside and asked me if I knew anyone who drove a white truck. I stared at him in disbelief as he told me it was some old man, and he asked for me by name and wanted me to come out so that we could talk. Now keep in mind, we had already discussed when I would call him, and not once did I mention where I lived, or for that matter, give him permission to just come over uninvited. I refused to go out, so my mom went out and told him I was on an important phone call and asked him what he wanted. He casually told her that he just wanted to talk to me. She said he literally said, "No creepy shit or anything, I just want to talk to her." I have cameras on all 4 corners of my property, so I was watching them and made note that it seemed as if he intentionally made it so that his license plate was out of the camera's view. And back at the store, he told us his name was Larry, but when he called my phone an hour after he left my house, the name on the caller ID was Anthony Johnson. I immediately Googled his number online just to see if maybe his middle name was Larry. But after having to pay for a background check to get information on him, I quickly learned that Larry was not in his name at all, so my suspicions only intensified. I blocked his number, and the next day, my mom says she saw him drive around their block on at least 3 separate occasions, ranging from morning to mid-afternoon. It's been 3 days now, and I've seen him twice sitting at the boat landing that's around the curve from my house. Many people go down there to fish, but I have a feeling that he's not there to fish at all. I want to call the police, but he hasn't technically done anything wrong, and I could be overreacting, but I don't think I am. I'm not sure what I should do. Should I take precaution and keep my guard up, or just forget it altogether?